Southern California, good afternoon, and welcome to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where this time we will be talking about quite a bit, such as Anthony Davis making his return for the Lakers. Finally, after almost pretty much like 2 months, Anthony Davis returns to the Lakers. But can he help the Lakers get more wins? Also, we had an upset in men's volleyball yesterday as UC San Diego downed number 1 Hawaii. The first loss of the season for the Rainbow Warriors. How about that? Great job to the Tritons. They'll face UC Santa Barbara in the Big West Conference Tournament Finals tonight and Hawaii. Also, the Angels are back to struggling. I should have figured this hot start was just too good to be true. And how about the Padres starting to pick up some steam after they got swept by the Brewers as they're taking on the Dodgers in a crucial 4-game series. Taking 2 out of 4. Can they make it 3 or 4 out of 4? Also, the Kings and the Ducks are still struggling, but at least the Galaxy and LAFC have gotten their season started in the MLS. That's always fun to see. Also, we have all kinds of Southern California sports action, such as the Clippers, who continue to win. I don't even remember the last time they lost. Can they actually put it together in the playoffs? All that and more here on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, episode 41 on April 24th, 2021. Hope everyone here is having a great afternoon. I know I am. Sorry if I started a little late, and I'm sorry for the random day of doing SoCal Supreme Sports Show, but yesterday was just busy for me. I was busy with schoolwork and then work and all kinds of other things going on in my life, so I had to skip it for yesterday. So I'm here today. I was going to do it at 2, but then I got home at almost 1:30 from work, and then I needed to shower up and clean up. And then I also took a little rest, which was a quick little power nap, which now I feel a little refreshed. So there's that right there. So a lot of SoCal sports to get into today. But first, before we get into the SoCal sports action, we have our sponsors we have to go over. The first sponsor is Legacy Financial. 2020 was indeed a tough year. However, staying positive, keeping your faith, and continuing to work hard is always the goal. If you're in a financial struggle at the moment, you're doing well and you want to get to the next level, or you're looking for a new opportunity to work for yourself and earn more money part-time, give IO a call at 510-928-2104. That number again is 510-928-2104 to book your appointment today. Io and her husband Andrew are just 2 people on a mission to help families build a legacy, because everyone in this world needs a legacy. You could follow Legacy Financial on Twitter at legacy_uncut, and you can follow them on Instagram at sims_uncut. So the second sponsor from IE Sports Radio is the Southern California Warriors, a semi-pro football team. The world of semi-pro sports is like any other sports organizations. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get filmed to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance you have been waiting for as an athlete, because anything in this world is possible, especially since with everything going on. You can follow Southern California Warriors on Twitter at SoCal Warriors. You can follow them on Instagram at Southern California _Warriors. And you can follow them on Facebook or like them on Facebook by going to the search bar and typing in Southern, then the word California, and the word Warriors. So there's that right there. So thank you to SoCal Warriors and Legacy Financial for being the official sponsors of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all of that sports. All right, now let's get on in to the SoCal sports action. So we're going to start with the NBA just because college sports have been quiet. I mean, there hasn't really been a tournament that's been going on. However, the NCAA men's volleyball tournament is on the horizon. I'll talk a little bit more about volleyball later. I won't get too much into volleyball just because I want to save that for Set Point. By the way, Set Point is going to be going on Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, 9 p.m. Eastern. Got a lot to talk about. And also, speaking of volleyball, we have a live broadcast on Wellington Sports Radio of the NCAA Women's Volleyball National Championship that's going on tonight. So just got to get that out of the way. So that's going to be on Wellington Sports Radio, and that's going to be on at 5 p.m. Pacific Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. So there's that. All right, but anyway, let's jump to the NBA because that seems to be what's kind of the most poppin' thing going on. So the Clippers just continue to win, and I'm not one to just brag about them, but I will say this: they're doing really good, and I want to say they're on a 4-game winning streak. So I guess they lost sometime down the road. I forget when they lost, but regardless, they're still doing pretty well. Like their past few games, they've somewhat eased their way to victory. Their other games, they've either had to grind it out, but they're still looking impressive. The Clippers beat the Rockets yesterday, which was Friday, 109-104. Kind of close if you're facing a struggling Rockets team, but you can't complain. And then on Wednesday, the Clippers beat the Memphis Grizzlies 117-105. On Tuesday, the Clippers edged the Portland Trailblazers 113-112. Paul George and I believe his name is Terrence Mann came up big, and Paul George hit 2 free throws with 4.8 seconds remaining to give the Clippers the victory over the Trailblazers, which was outstanding. I'm glad to see Paul George is doing well. However, I want to see him do well in the postseason. Like, if he really is playoff P, which I don't want him to ever have that alias, I want to see it in the postseason. So last Sunday, the Clippers beat the Timberwolves 124-105. And then last Friday, the Clippers lost to the Philadelphia 76ers in Philadelphia 106-103. It was a close loss. I mean, I'll give the Clippers this. I mean, they have been playing some of their games close, but it's not too bad losing to the Sixers. The Sixers are a good team. So it's not like they lost to the Pistons, which they beat both times prior to that. So yeah, I think the Clippers are doing fine. They are still number 3 in the Western Conference, but they're not too far off from the Suns. They are only a half game back of the Suns, though both teams have played different number of games. The Clippers have played 62 games while the Suns have played 59. I still want to see the Clippers actually do good in the postseason. Until I see the Clippers making it out of the second round, I'm still not sold on them. But they are closing in on that number 1 seed as well. They're only 2.5 back of the number 1 seed, so who knows? Maybe the Clippers can actually put it all together. But that's a big if. As for the Lakers just recently got back Anthony Davis, which is absolutely good. I'm very happy that he's back after he got a leg contusion, I want to say. Regardless, he has been out since Valentine's Day, and I was a little concerned on him coming back against Dallas. I thought he should have just sat out that game and then waited until he was fully healed. But it is good to see him back. LeBron is still out, unfortunately, due to that ankle sprain. I can't wait till he gets back. I hear he's going to be back at about maybe the beginning of May. I'm not sure. He'll have to be reevaluated, but I think he'll be back at the 1st or 2nd of May. As the Lakers this past week, this week and then all the way back to last Friday, the Lakers lost to the Dallas Mavericks 115-110. It wasn't that bad of a loss for the Lakers. Anthony Davis coming back and facing a talented Dallas team on the road, that's pretty good. Anthony Davis, however, only had 4 points and 4 boards, which unfortunately that wasn't going to get the job done. But it was his first game back. He was also a -11 in the plus-minus department, even though that's not really a true relevant stat. I just had to throw that out there. And then on Monday, the Lakers lost to the Utah Jazz, 111-97. But the Lakers, prior to that, beat the Utah Jazz 127-115 in overtime. Dennis Schroeder came up big, and I was pretty happy. I was like, okay, cool. The Lakers won without AD and LeBron against the Jazz. The Jazz have been really good, but I'm still not sold on them. Until I see teams like the Clippers, the Nets, the Sixers, and the Jazz do well in the postseason, I'm not ready to crown anybody. I'm still waiting if those teams that I just mentioned can beat the Lakers at full strength. I think the Lakers at full strength for sure can beat the Jazz or the Clippers or the Nets or the Sixers. Full strength, the Lakers are just a well-oiled machine. Half strength, not so much. And then last Thursday, the Lakers lost to the Boston Celtics 121-113. That was a bummer, unfortunately, because it's never fun losing to the Boston Celtics. It really isn't. And the worst part is that was the first game that the Lakers actually had fans in Staples Center. And I really think that wasn't a good idea to have that first game with fans, just because that's basically bulletin board material for the Celtics. And the Lakers I don't mean to say this in a negative way, and I don't think this is the Lakers' fault, but I think the Lakers kind of need to do a better job of picking their opponent on when to have special nights. They chose the Clippers to have their championship ring night, and then they lost to the Clippers. Then they chose the Celtics to have fans back in the stands. That backfired as well. And then also we gotta remember last year that the Lakers decided to wear the Black Mamba jerseys in Game 5, thinking that they're undefeated and they were going to beat the Miami Heat in Game 5. Unfortunately, that was not the case, and that the Lakers lost that game by the hair on their chinny chin chins. So the Lakers have kind of got to stop giving these teams bulletin board material. I mean, they should just go with it. Unless they had to make that decision against the Celtics, I just feel they just brought fans back into the stands on the night of the Celtics, just because it's the Celtics and the Celtics are the Lakers' rival and whatnot. So there is that right there. So unfortunately, the Lakers are still kind of struggling, but I hope they're able to get out. I still think they are a big threat to the Western Conference. So honestly, I ain't even worried about it. So Lakers are currently 5th in the Western Conference. My only fear for the Lakers is if they drop below 6th. So far, tonight they play the Dallas Mavericks. I hope they beat the Mavericks, because if the Lakers lose to the Mavericks tonight, then the Mavericks will actually inch a game closer. The Mavericks are 2.5 games behind, and then a win tonight puts Dallas only 1.5 games behind the Lakers in the Western Conference standings. And then you also got to watch out for the Trailblazers as well. I know the Trailblazers have lost 4 in a row, but they're still good with Damian Lillard. Like, the goal for the Lakers is they got to get out of... They cannot fall into that 7 through 10 spot. Otherwise, they got to play an extra play-in game, which could be stressful for them, and it's basically less rest. Yeah, less rest for LeBron and co. And the Lakers already haven't had enough rest this season as is, considering the All-Star game, and then you also have their shortened off season where they only got 2 months while everyone else got an extended period. Well, everyone else except the Miami Heat, of course, but still, the Lakers just have not been fully rested and whatnot. So there's that. But I'm confident in the Lakers. I don't doubt the Lakers until I see the Lakers losing a series in the postseason. I don't doubt them one bit. So can't change my mind. So going forward for the Lakers, like I said, they play the Dallas Mavericks tonight on ABC. That should be a great game. It's at Dallas. And then on Monday they play the Orlando Magic. Then on Wednesday they travel to Washington to face the Wizards. And then on Friday they return to Staples Center against the Sacramento Kings. The Clippers, on the other hand, have this weekend off, but Monday they play the New Orleans Pelicans at New Orleans. Then on Wednesday they face the Phoenix Suns, which that's a crucial game for the Clippers. If the Clippers want to move up to that 2 spot, then they got to win that game. If not, then that could be troublesome. But the Clippers also have another they have quite a bit of tricky games going forward. Next Saturday, the Clippers play the Nuggets. That's going to be a fun one, considering, again, it's another rematch of last year's second-round series, and that could also prove to be crucial for the Nuggets as well, considering Denver's kind of creeping on that 4-5-3 slot in the Western Conference. So, and the Clippers and or Nuggets probably want to avoid facing the Lakers until like the conference semis and whatnot. Like, after next week, the Clippers have the Raptors, then the Lakers, which I imagine LeBron might be coming back for that game. If not, then no big deal. And then they also have the Knicks, which the Knicks are actually doing really well. I can't believe I'm saying that. Regardless, the Knicks are doing well. Then the Raptors again, then they're at the Charlotte Hornets, then they're at Houston, and then they close the season against the Thunder, which that the Thunder could also be a kind of an interesting team, considering they're kind of hovering around the play-in spots. Are they? No. Oh, wait. No. Oklahoma City. No. Actually, they are not hovering around the. I'm looking at that incorrectly. Oklahoma City is pretty much borderline of getting eliminated. Can't believe Oklahoma City has just had themselves quite the dip after last year. Really sucks, honestly. They lose Chris Paul to free agency, and now everything is falling apart for them. Speaking of the Western Conference, 2 teams have finally been eliminated from the NBA playoff contention. And those teams are the Houston Rockets and the Minnesota Timberwolves. So, 3 frauds remain in the West. And then 5 frauds remain in the East, as no one from the Eastern Conference has been eliminated. So, cool stuff right there. But I'm actually quite excited for how the Clippers are still doing. Like, if the Clippers can actually get it together, they could pose a threat in the conference finals. But they gotta make the conference finals first, and that's if they don't choke. That's a huge if, but we'll see. And then the Lakers, I'm still not worried. Like, I think as long as LeBron takes it easy, he doesn't stress his ankle out, and once he gets back to full strength, then we'll see him back doing his thing. I know he's kind of getting up there in age, but he's still one of the dominant players in the NBA. And Anthony Davis is just a phenomenal talent. And once he gets some more games underneath his belt, he'll be back to doing his thing when it comes to dominating the paint and whatnot. So it's going to do it for the NBA portion of the show. Let us jump to the MLS portion of the show as LAFC and the LA Galaxy kicked off their season last weekend. Last week, the LAFC defeated the new expansion team, Austin FC, 2-0, which that's no surprise. I mean, Austin is a new team. It's an expansion team, which is cool. I'm glad the MLS is starting to grow because sports like soccer are like addicting, and they'll grow, especially for like kids who love to play the game of soccer all over the place. So there's that right there. So good job for LAFC. They play Seattle tonight. Well, actually later on today. They play them at 3 p.m. and that's going to be on ESPN, which is kind of interesting. I didn't think that would be on ESPN. But then again, I thought the NCAA women's volleyball championship game would be on ESPN, but it wasn't. So there's that. But good job for LAFC. They beat Austin, which is not really a surprise. It just isn't. So there's that. And then the goals from the LAFC Austin game were courtesy of, if I can find it, Jose Cifuentes was the one that scored for LAFC, while Pablo Cisniega got the shutout, which is cool. And then also Corey Baird scored the first goal of the game. He scored at the 61st minute, while Jose Cifuentes scored the second half goal in stoppage time, which basically put the game on ice for LAFC. So good stuff. Good stuff right there for LAFC. So I'm proud of them. Now as for the LA Galaxy, they kicked off their season as they managed to beat Miami last Sunday. They won 3-2, which is cool. I'm glad they were able to win that game. Despite only having 6 shots, and 5 of which were on goal, Miami actually had 19 shots, and 8 of which were on goal. So that's quite astounding for LAFC to actually win that one. So good stuff there from LAFC, as trying to find their goal scorers, as Javier Chicharito. I probably butchered that name, but regardless, Javier Hernandez recorded his first 2-goal performance of his MLS career for the LA Galaxy, as he scored in the 81st minute to lift the Galaxy to a 3-2 win over Inter Miami CF. So good job to Hernandez, and I'm just looking on who scored the first goal for the LA Galaxy. It's not showing up on their. It's not showing up on the Galaxy's box score. That's crazy. It really sucks, but it's whatever. Like, the LA Galaxy won, and that's good. So the Galaxy play the New York Red Bulls tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Pacific time, which that should be a good game. If I remember, New York won, and no, they didn't. Last week they lost to Kansas City 2-1. So this is going to be the battle of, can the Galaxy actually continue a winning streak over a not so good opponent? Like I feel Inter Miami is also an expansion team, but they've been around longer than Austin has. Regardless, it's still a good win for the Galaxy to kick off their season like that. So, good job for the Galaxy. I just hope the Galaxy can get back to their playoff selves, because last year was such a disappointment. Kind of like the rest of 2020. But who knows? Maybe this year has them looking on the upward and onward. Same with LAFC. Last year was a disappointment as well, as they lost the MLS's back tournament in the semifinals off of PKs, and then they lost the MLS playoffs in the first round to Seattle. So, yeah, the LA teams or SoCal teams aren't really doing a good job, aren't really impressing as of late. I'm no soccer expert, but I know LAFC has a great team year in and year out. It's just that last year was a disappointment. And then for the Galaxy, it was a complete disappointment, as they didn't even make the elimination round of the MLS's back tournament. And they also didn't even make the MLS playoffs. So I also hear the Galaxy also hired a new manager. I don't remember his name off the top of my head. But regardless, the LA Galaxy have to get things together, because they were too good of an organization to be this bad. And you can't suck forever. You know what I mean? So if you want more soccer action, and more soccer action broken down better than I do, definitely check out the Soccer Scoreboard Show with Andrew Hagenbaugh every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And as we say hello to Davidson Crooks, who just pops in the chat room. Thank you for joining me, Davidson. I just finished talking about the MLS, and I actually talked about the NBA as well, and how Anthony Davis has returned to the Lakers. And he didn't put up big numbers, but he said he felt good being back, and he wants more minutes. As long as he doesn't make his injury worse, or he doesn't get re-injured, I think the Lakers will be fine with boosting his minutes. I'm just chomping at the bit of when LeBron comes back, and then when LeBron and AD are both back, it'll be fun times going forward. So there's that. And Davidson says, has the other LA soccer club hurt the Galaxy? Yes, that's a very good question. And yeah, the LAFC's success has really been a big boon for Los Angeles in terms of soccer. LAFC has had the better records. They're kind of big brother, but when it comes to the postseason, they kind of falter. They're kind of I hate to describe LAFC as this type of football player, but they're kind of like Phillip Rivers in the postseason. They look good in the regular season for the most part. And then when it comes postseason time, they kind of crumble under pressure and turn into a pumpkin. And I remember it happened a couple of years ago. I think it was in 2019 when LAFC was the number 1 seed, and they made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals, where they lost to Seattle in embarrassing fashion. So LAFC is kind of like that rich kid that has all these cool gadgets and toys and whatnot, but they don't have the championship banners, where the LA Galaxy have had tradition in the past where they've won championships. So LAFC is kind of like the soccer version of the Clippers, and then the Galaxy are like the Lakers and whatnot. So there's that. Although LAFC hasn't really been around as long as the Galaxy, but still, I don't like how LAFC fans are just flexing and saying, "Oh, LAFC is so great. We're better than the Galaxy." win a ring first. Win a championship, please. Davidson Crooks also says, hopefully AD takes it slow. I agree. If I were AD, I would have probably hoped he'd come back against the Magic, but he can't complain. Give him some tough reps against the Mavericks, which that's a crucial matchup right there, because the Lakers and the Mavericks are pretty much neck and neck for that 5-6 spot, because whoever gets the 5 spot will be on the path of the Utah Jazz. But again, I'm not sold on the Jazz until they can really excel in the postseason. I think one of their players, well, who was it? Donovan Mitchell, I heard, got hurt, which that wasn't fun for the Jazz. So, but then again, the Jazz welcome back Rudy Gobert. So we'll see. We'll see about the NBA and the MLS and whatnot. Like, the MLS just started last week, and it's looking good for both LAFC and LA Galaxy, but it's only one game, so I'm not going to crack the bubbly just yet. So there's that. That's enough MLS talk for right now. Let us get into some NHL talk, where the Ducks and the Kings just continue to struggle. But those two teams had their freeway face-off this past Tuesday, where the Kings reigned supreme over the Ducks, winning 4-1. In typical Ducks fashion, the Ducks got off to a slow start, and they could not recover. Grundstrom scored the first goal for the Kings, while Anze Kopitar scored the second, and Athanasiou scored the third goal, and then Lizotte scored the fourth goal in the third period, and then Corey Fowler scored the Ducks' lone goal in the game, preventing the shutout. Regardless, it was a atrocity, even though the Ducks outshot the Kings 25-22, and then the Ducks won the faceoffs 32-26. Regardless, the Ducks lost, and it's just been that type of horrible season for them. The Kings are no better, though. The Ducks have 35 points. They have 14 wins, 26 losses, and 7 overtime losses, while the Kings have 17 wins, 21 losses, and 6 overtime losses, totaling 40 points. At least the Kings are kind of close, but they still have a ways to go if they want to catch up to St. Louis. Vegas and Colorado have clinched playoff berths. Vegas is the leader of the Western Division, while Colorado is right behind them. And then Minnesota is in third place. They're not too far behind. And then it's a long drop all the way from third place, as St. Louis and Arizona are basically neck and neck with one another for that final spot. While San Jose's kind of in the mix, as they're only 5 games behind St. Louis and whatnot. But the Ducks and the Kings aren't looking too hot. Hopefully they can at least somewhat turn it around. So there's that. Last night the Kings lost to the Minnesota Wild 4-2, but that just goes to show you how good the Wild are. Last weekend's series against the Colorado Avalanche got postponed, and despite the rust, the Kings didn't skip a beat against the Ducks. Maybe the rest really helped them. Regardless, the Kings play the Arizona Coyotes tonight at Staples Center, and then on Monday and Wednesday, the Kings face the Anaheim Ducks at Staples Center in the freeway face-off. And then next Friday and Saturday, the Kings and the Ducks face one another in the freeway face-off at the Honda Center, or as I will still call it, the Arrowhead Pond. I will still refer to Honda Center as the Pond, even though I'm old school. Regardless, that's pretty much the Ducks. The Kings. The Ducks, on the other hand, have struggled. Last Sunday, the Ducks lost to the Golden Knights 5-2. On Friday, the Ducks lost to the Golden Knights 4-0. And then last Wednesday, they lost to the Sharks Or no, they beat the Sharks 4-1, and then they also beat the Sharks 4-0 last Monday. But that's going a little too far back. Tonight, the Ducks play the Golden Knights, which, well, that's a fun matchup. They're facing the best team in the West, and, well, based on last week's track record against the Knights, I'm pretty sure the Ducks are going to have a tough time. But, like I said, the Ducks play the Kings at Staples Center on Monday and Wednesday, and then next Friday and Saturday, the Kings and the Ducks face one another. So it's basically a 4-game freeway face-off, and I am all for that. The Kings can possibly use that as a little ticket for a chance to maybe, just maybe, make one final playoff push, but the Kings are still a ways back of the Blues and the Coyotes and whatnot. So, and I also got to throw in the Sharks as well, just because the Sharks lead the Kings by 1 point in the standings. Regardless, who knows? Maybe the Kings can actually make a playoff push, but I ain't gonna hold my breath, honestly, because they still have quite a few games to go. They have 11 games remaining before the NHL season comes to a close, or at least the regular season. So we'll see how it goes for the Kings and the Ducks. I've kind of just mailed it in already that the Ducks have just suffered pain game in and game out, week in and week out. So at least the Ducks have a win in the freeway face-off. But it doesn't really matter all that much because it's basically the battle for last place. Sad but true. So there is that right there. And that's pretty much going to do it for the NHL portion of the show. We're actually going to take ourselves a quick little commercial break. We're going to take ourselves a quickie in terms of a commercial break. When we come back, I'll have some MLB talk, and then I'll talk a little about some NCAA men's volleyball because we had ourselves a big upset last night, and I got to make note of it. So you're listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Attention, all sports fans! If you're someone who wakes up each morning with lists of sporting events to go along with your to-do list for the day, then you just might be a diehard. The world of sports is as vast as the ocean is deep, including the major leagues, the minor leagues, the college, and everything in between. This is me, your brother Larry B of IE Sports Radio, welcoming you to join me every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on The Defining Moment, a show that focuses on what really matters in the sports world sports themselves, and nothing outside of them. Once again, tune in for the defining moment with me, your boy Larry B, every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on IE Sports Radio, right here on Spreaker.com. We'll see you there. What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry B, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head prime-time face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it.
And welcome back to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. You can check out all of IE Sports Radio's amazing shows on many platforms such as Spreaker, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn. The list goes on and on. So definitely do check out all those amazing shows. You could check out Larry B's show, Defining Moment, and 3 and Out. Also got to make note of something real quick about the Defining Moment. In 3 weeks from today, we have IE Sports Radio's 8th anniversary. On May 15th, IE Sports Radio was born, courtesy of Larry B. As we say hello to Andrew Hegenbaugh in the chat room, says hopefully you're having a great show, Teran. Thank you, I appreciate it, Andrew. Definitely do check out Andrew's shows. The first being the Soccer Scoreboard Show, which he does probably a better job of talking soccer than I do, while his second show is the State of Ohio Sports, which airs every Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. He does a great job with that show. And I can't say enough good about it, so there's that. But back to IE Sports Radio's 8-year anniversary. I can't wait for that. I really hope I can get that day pretty much to myself. It all depends on when the Defining Moment will have its anniversary. Last year, the show started at 4 p.m., I want to say. It started at 4 p.m. If not, it started at like 3. Regardless, it was in the afternoon, and unfortunately, I had to work, and I missed that. And I didn't even know when IE Sports Radio's origination came, so oops. So we'll see what happens. I mean, it all depends. I think I have family, other family coming over to take me out to a brunch or whatnot. Again, I really like for the show to be on an afternoon, but that's just me. But I'm looking too far ahead. That's 3 weeks from today. So yeah, I'd like to be live. I also want to be live if need be, and if I'm live, awesome. But if not, then I'll have to pre-record. And pre-record's just not the same. I don't know about you all, but if you're pre-recording, it's kind of not that same. It doesn't have the same vibe, in my opinion. But that does not have anything to do with SoCal Sports. Now let's jump back into the SoCal Sports. We are in segment number 2. Yes, count it, number 2 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. And let's jump into some MLB action, which the Angels have gone back to struggling. Whoop-de-frickin-do. Currently, the Angels are down 10-2 to the Houston Astros. Absolute atrocity right here. I really can't believe this. I knew the Angels' good start to the season was just a hoax, and it's disappointing. Yesterday, the Angels lost to the Astros 5-4 in extra innings because their bullpen decided to wet the bed. On Thursday, the Angels lost to the Astros 8-2, and then on Wednesday, the Angels lost to the Texas Rangers 7-4. On Tuesday, the Angels beat the Texas Rangers 6-2, and then on Monday, the Rangers beat the Angels 6-4. So the Angels have been on quite a bit of a skid here. It's looking like that skid's going to reach 3 losses in a row and then 5 of their last 6, which is disappointing. Their series last weekend against the Twins, they only got to play one game, and they beat the Twins 10-3. But their games last Saturday and last Sunday were postponed due to a COVID contraction in the Twins' organization. So the makeup date is to be determined. But as of right now for the Angels, they have the Astros tomorrow at 11:10 a.m. And then on Monday through Wednesday, they have a road trip against the Texas Rangers, so they won't have to go far when it comes to playing the Rangers. And then on next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, they play the Seattle Mariners. That's a crucial one considering the Mariners are ahead. Actually, no, they're not ahead, but they're close to being ahead of the AL West. The Mariners are in second place in the AL West, while the Oakland A's have won 12 in a row, and now they are on top of the AL West. So the Angels really have their work cut out for them. I kind of feared their hot start was going to be too good to be true. They're still the same old Angels, considering they still have bullpen issues. Their pitching issues is just bad. It's just horrible, man. Like, it's sickening. But at least they're not the Yankees. Except the Yankees are starting to win. But still, Yankees lose. Anyway. Before we bash on the Yankees some more, yeah, I'm just disappointed in the Angels. Like, this is a horrible, horrible way to go out. After they had one of their better starts in team history, they went 7-3 in their first 10 games. And that was one of the best starts in their team history after 10 games. And then they just fell apart to Kansas City, and then they fell apart to Texas, and then they're currently falling apart against the Astros. So Angels have a lot to learn, and they got to get it together, and it's disappointing. So there's that regarding the Angels. Now let's jump on over to the Padres and the Dodgers. So the Padres and the Dodgers are currently in a 4-game series as of right now. Padres won yesterday 6-1, and then the previous night they won 3-2 off of some great heroics. The previous series, however, on Wednesday, Tuesday, and Monday, the Brewers swept the Padres. As the Brewers won Wednesday's game 4-2, they won Tuesday's game 6-0, and then they beat the Padres 3-1 on Monday. As for last week's series against the Padres, the Dodgers took 2 out of 3 in that series. As the first game, the Dodgers won 11-6. That was a very great match. That was a very great matchup. Unfortunately, got blacked out from where I'm at, which made me sad face, but it is what it is. And then on Saturday, the Dodgers won 2-0 at San Diego, and Mookie Betts just made an outstanding play. I was astounded by that play. That was an athletic play, and that's probably a web gem right there. The Dodgers, however, dropped the final game of the series. Well, the first series, the 3-game series of last week, to the Padres 5-2, as the Padres have now strung together 2 straight wins, and I can't believe they lost to the Brewers. Maybe the Brewers are better than what everyone is expecting, but I'm a little surprised. Because looking at the standings, the Brewers are 12-8 in the NL Central, while the Padres are 12-10. So there's that right there. Again, it's still plenty early. So yeah. So as for the Dodgers, how did the Dodgers do after their previous series against, or last week's series against the Padres? Well, to say the least, they did okay against the Seattle Mariners. They split their 2-game series against the Mariners, as on Monday the Dodgers lost to the Mariners 4-3, and then on Tuesday the Dodgers beat the Mariners 1-0. Quite a bit of a low-scoring affair, as they actually got a one-hitter. I didn't even know this until I saw Kenley Jansen actually not blowing the game, as it was a one-hitter. And believe it or not, the Dodgers actually only mustered up 2 hits, which is surprising as well. So it was a great pitcher's duel, as Julio Urias threw 7 innings, and he was the only one that allowed the hit, while Jansen pretty much played cleanup and whatnot. So, and then Corey Seager was the one that drove in he had the RBI, and then Pollock scored and whatnot. So there's that right there. So overall, when it comes to the standings, let's jump to the standings real quick for the Dodgers, Padres, and Angels. The Dodgers are 14-6. They still hold the best record in the MLB, which is awesome sauce. And they are currently on top of the NL West. San Diego is 12-10. They are 3 games behind the Dodgers. It could only be 2 if they win tonight, but we'll see. And as for the Angels, they are 9-9, soon to be 9-10, and they are in 3rd place in the AL West, about to be 4th, because they're about to drop to 4 games below the Oakland A's. As again, I'm just disappointed that the Angels had such a great start to the season, and now they're starting to go into peak mode. It really sucks. Like, I want to see Mike Trout make the postseason and win a playoff game. It sucks. It really, really sucks. Alright, so now looking forward to these teams. So, the Padres conclude their series tonight and tomorrow against the Dodgers. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, the Padres will have a 2-game road series against the Arizona Diamondbacks. And then on Thursday and Monday, the Padres will have the day off. But on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, or next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the Padres face the Giants, which that's also another crucial NL West matchup, considering the Giants actually lead. They're in 2nd place in the NL West, but they are ahead of the Padres in the NL West standing. So there's that right there. And that's also, again, that's a crucial series for the Padres, because if they're struggling to put away the Giants, even though they're beating the Dodgers, I don't know, man. Like, I still have confidence that the Padres can do good this season, but it still remains to be determined. Like, can they beat the Dodgers in the postseason? We'll see. So, as for the Dodgers moving forward, they conclude their series against the Padres tonight and tomorrow. On Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, they are back at home against the Cincinnati Reds. And then on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, next Saturday and Sunday, the Dodgers are taking a trip to Wisconsin to play the Milwaukee Brewers. So that's gonna be a pretty cool series. If it's gonna be Christian Yelich versus Cody Bellinger, who is actually out with injury. So I don't know when Bellinger is gonna be back, but hopefully it's soon. Get well, buddy. Like, we want to see you back 100%. So there's that. But that'll be quite the fascinating series. Cincinnati isn't really doing great in the NL Central, but you never know. Again, it's still very early, and then the Brewers are just doing great guns. It all depends on if they can continue the momentum. Because remember, this is now a full 162-game season. This isn't a marathon. This isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. So anyone can get hot or cold at any portion of the season. So as for the Angels, they conclude their series against the Astros tomorrow. They're now down 13-2, which is very disappointing. On Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, they face the Texas Rangers in Texas. And then Thursday, they have the day off, while Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, or next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the Dodgers travel up to Seattle to face the Mariners. Again, it's another crucial series if the Angels want to actually do good in the NL West. But at this point, they gotta muster up some wins. Heck, maybe they might need to have to make some moves. They obviously don't want to move like David Fletcher or any of their valuable pieces, but it might be time to start selling or whatnot. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes for the Angels. But that's going to do it for the MLB portion of the show. I feel I've talked about everything except for the one main thing. NCAA men's volleyball. No set point. You're not coming out to play. You're not coming out until Tuesday. So, but I do need to make note of the Big West Conference tournament and also another Southern California men's volleyball team. So Pepperdine is playing in the Pepperdine's men's volleyball team is playing in the MPSF championship game against BYU. It's at BYU, and that game is tonight. I think Pepperdine can actually give BYU a challenge. I will say this, if BYU beats Pepperdine, I don't see the Waves getting into the NCAA tournament. They could get in as an at-large team, but I don't think Pepperdine has the standout wins. I do admit Pepperdine does have some solid wins over UCLA. They don't have too many bad losses, and they've been ranked throughout most of the top 10 for a decent chunk of the season. I think they've been top 10 most of the season, and then they've been top 5 throughout a third or a half of the season. But I don't think Pepperdine would be fully into getting into the NCAA tournament. I don't think they're a lock if they're applying as an at-large. Now, if Pepperdine wins the MPSF tournament, that's another story. But if you're Pepperdine, you got to get the job done tonight against BYU. But beating BYU is a tough match on its own, as BYU has the home court advantage and the altitude, and the elevation is just tough. And you're on the road, so if it was at, I forget the gymnasium that Pepperdine plays in. I think it's called, the Stonehouse Gymnasium or something like that. Either way, if Pepperdine was playing at Pepperdine, they may have a chance, but unfortunately that is not the case. So there's that. So there's that for Pepperdine. UCLA unfortunately lost in the semifinals. I don't think they're going to get into the NCAA tournament. I think they have a few bad losses too many. I think they have 2 losses to USC, and they have 1 loss to Concordia Irvine. So, sorry, UCLA, you kind of messed up. But with how UCLA was rebuilding this season after they lost Danon Gimia, I think that's how his last name is pronounced. I can never pronounce his last name. I hear it's pronounced Gamaya or Gimia. Either way, Danon, despite losing him and despite losing a few other players, and then despite having to deal with COVID, UCLA had a good season. Unfortunately, it just was not good enough. So that's that for the MPSF Southern California men's volleyball teams. I also got to make note that USC and Concordia lost in the first round of the MPSF tournament. So That's no surprise, though. I was hoping USC would pull off the upset against GCU, but it wasn't going to happen. Okay, now let's jump to the Big West Conference in terms of men's volleyball. Then we'll send everybody on their way. So, the Big West Conference had a monumental upset last night that happened. Well, the first semifinal actually included Long Beach State and UC Santa Barbara. This was the third meeting between those two teams. The Gauchos took the first match with most of ease, and then the Long Beach State took the second match, which was not too surprising because Long Beach State is good. They don't lose in the pyramid. The third match, however, kind of didn't go as well as I thought it would go, as the first set, Long Beach State dominated that first set. And then the second set, UC Santa Barbara just took that second set. And then the third set, they pretty much dominated in. And then set 4, UC Santa Barbara was dominant for the most part. And that was the end to Long Beach State's season. I really don't think Long Beach State's getting in as an at-large team, because the NCAA men's volleyball tournament is so limited. It's not like the women's, which gets 64 teams. Well, in this season, 48, but still, it's a much expanded tournament as opposed to the men's, because the men's volleyball, in terms of the NCAA, doesn't have too many teams and whatnot. So, there is that right there. But UC Santa Barbara knocked out Long Beach State and advanced to the NCAA, or not the NCAA, the Big West Conference Men's Volleyball Championship. So, as for the second match between Hawaii and UC San Diego, I thought, okay, well, Hawaii is going to win this tournament because Long Beach State's out. Long Beach State, in my opinion, was the best team to knock out, that had the best chance to knock out Hawaii. Because other than UC Irvine, Long Beach State was the only other team to go 5 sets with the Rainbow Warriors. And the first set between Hawaii and UC San Diego, Hawaii kind of struggled, as UC San Diego did come out with fire, but the Rainbow Warriors took the first set 25-22. The second set, UC San Diego had to grind it out and take that second set 25-23. The third set was the most lopsided set, as Hawaii took that third set 25-16. And then the fourth set was just back and forth. It looked as if UC San Diego was going to pull off the fourth set win and force a fifth set. And then Hawaii came back with some well-timed kills from Rado Parupanov and Patrick Gassman and Colton Cowell. But UC San Diego took the fourth set 25-23, forcing a fifth set. And the fifth set was back and forth. I could not believe how back and forth it was. As Hawaii got the early jump, and they led 4-2, and then it was just back and forth action. Hawaii led 10-9 at one point, then UC San Diego led 12-11, then UC San Diego had match point at 14-13, then Hawaii had match point at 15-14, then UC San Diego had match point at 16-15, and then they had match point at 17-16. And then this happened. Unfortunately, I don't have the actual broadcast via Hawaii, Spectrum Hawaii, but if I can find it, I'll play that for you. But here's what actually happened in real time, not via a broadcast. So the ball got roofed and, well, not roofed. The ball got blocked at the net, and that was that for that was that for Hawaii's run through the Hawaii's run through the Hawaii's run through the Big West Conference tournament, which I was very surprised to see Hawaii lose. Like, I thought Hawaii was so much better than that, but they unfortunately crumbled to UC San Diego. But here's the thing about UC San Diego. They're such a sneaky good team. They have such good options. They are led by Kyle McCauley, but I forget his first name, but I think his name is like Ryan Ka, had a big game for UC San Diego as he had back-to-back kills, which gave the Tritons match point, and then eventually the Tritons came up with that big block, and that was that. So here is the actual broadcast via Spectrum Sports Hawaii, as here is the actual point with commentary and whatnot.
Tritons serving for the match again and for a spot in the championship. Pass by Galloway is a good one. Tella, backside to Rado. Lights up Palma, but he comes up with the save. Here's McCauley, the roll shot. Two-hand save, Rado. Bump set, Tella. Cowell has to two-hand it over. He's blocked. And roof by Boyle. And UCSD has pulled off the stunner, taking down the previously unbeaten #1 team in the country in a semifinal match on their own home floor.
Yeah, that happened. Hawaii lost at Hawaii in the Stan Sheriff Center to UC San Diego. That is UC San Diego's first win over Hawaii since 2012. And if I'm being more specific when it comes to the exact date, it was January 6, 2012 when UC San Diego last beat Hawaii prior to yesterday's win. And I was up pretty much throughout getting updates on this. Like, I didn't even care if I lost sleep or whatnot. I was up and I was like, oh my gosh, this match is intense. And then I saw that UC San Diego pulled it off the win. I was like, wow. And I feel bad for Hawaii. Like, Hawaii is just, Hawaii men's volleyball is another prime example of it's tough to go undefeated and it's tough to win a national championship in the same season. Because unlike the regular season, you cannot lose in the postseason. You cannot lose in the postseason once. However, I still see Hawaii making the NCAA tournament. Like, I'd be shocked if they didn't. Like, they've been ranked in the top 2 throughout all season, and then they've been ranked #1 throughout all from the beginning of, I think, February or March all the way to now, which is quite astounding. I'd be stunned if Hawaii didn't make the NCAA tournament. I know this isn't the Hawaii Sports Show. This is the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, but I'll get more into that when I do set point. But I still think Hawaii men's volleyball gets into the NCAA tournament. But as for the Big West Conference tournament finals, that consists of UC Santa Barbara and UC San Diego. It kind of feels good not seeing a team named Hawaii or Long Beach State or UC Irvine. It's two different teams and two different sides of the spectrum, as the Gauchos have one of their most impressive teams, and they're looking to make history by winning an NCAA men's volleyball championship, while UC San Diego is out to make history, as they're kind of like the little engine that could. They went from Division II and jumped. Well, all of UC San Diego sports went from Division II all the way to Division I. So there's that right there, and I don't think they needed the transition period as well, because I think some of UC San Diego sports were Division I, like men's volleyball. Like, that's kind of the lone exception and whatnot. So there's that. But I think UC Santa Barbara takes the Big West Conference Championship. I don't want to pick against UC San Diego, but I think the Gauchos have that it factor. I think between the two, the Gauchos have the it factor. But I would not count out UC San Diego. Why? Because they have some good stud athletes. And it wouldn't shock me if that match went 5. It just wouldn't. So there's that for a little college volleyball talk and whatnot. But actually, one more thing I want to go over before I send you all on your way is that Mater Dei beat St. John Bosco in football 34-17, and apparently they were crowned Cal High's football team of the year, which they deserve it. I can't say they don't deserve it, considering they won their Trinity League. They kind of got redemption against St. John Bosco. I mean, don't get me wrong, nothing against Bosco, but I think Mater Dei just wanted it a little bit more. I mean, it was back and forth throughout the first half, and then the second half, Mater Dei's defense stepped up. Bruce Rawlinson always does a great job with his team. Same can be said with Jason Negro. But Mater Dei just had a little bit more in the tank. I got to give it up for their freshman quarterback. I forget his name. I think it's Elijah Brown, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check. Yeah, Elijah Brown is his name. And he is now getting offers up the wazoo. He got a recent offer from University of Arizona. And he got an offer from Utah, which is absolutely bonkers. And he just got invited to the Underclassmen Camp Series, which is really awesome. This kid's going to be a stud in the near future. I just hope he has a clear mind and he just stays the course. But I don't think he's going anywhere when it comes to playing for Mater Dei. It'd be shocking to see him transfer, but he's not gonna. I think he's gonna. Once you go to Mater Dei, you don't really go unless you're a role player. You stay with the Monarchs because you're playing for a great foundation for Bruce Rawlinson. I'm not trying to advocate for Mater Dei or St. John Bosco, but I'm just saying I know from experience seeing some of these teams, seeing some of these Mater Dei and Bosco teams, it's quite phenomenal if you ask me. So there is that for a little high school football. I don't really do too much high school football, but I did have to make note of the game of the year in terms of high school football and the game of the year in California as well. So I don't think Mater Dei will be the Max Preps national champion just because they only played 5 games, and while most of those teams were pretty good, not all of them were nationally ranked and have that nationally ranked caliber, but you never know. But that's going to do it for today's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you're tuning in live, I appreciate it. And if you're tuning in on the replay, I also appreciate it. Thank you to Davidson Crooks for popping in the chat room. And thank you to Andrew Hagenbaugh, who just popped in the chat room for a little bit. But I know how busy he is. And I thank everyone for listening because without you, the listeners, iSports Radio doesn't amount to too much. We are for the listeners, by the listeners. So without any further delay, it is time to get on out of here. Because I got to get me some grub because in an hour, I've got a live broadcast of women's volleyball. You feel? Thank you all once again for tuning in to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Once again, if you tuned in via live or via podcast form, I definitely appreciate it. And I also appreciate the support. I appreciate you all taking time out of your day to listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I hope to continue to do the SoCal Supreme Sports Show for as long as I can, as well as Set Point. And thank you to our sponsors once again, Legacy Financial and SoCal Warriors, the semi-pro football team. We definitely appreciate you helping keep the lights on. For everyone here at iSports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. I shall see you all in about an hour for the Wellington Sports Radio live broadcast of the NCAA Women's Volleyball Championship. And I'll see you Tuesday for Set Point. Peace out, and remember, SoCal is for SoCal.